Good morning, Year 4. I hope you're all well. Welcome to today's math session. So today we are going to be looking and exploring fractions that are greater than 1. And before we start that lesson today, I have some daily fluency questions for you. These should take you no more than 2 minutes. So pause the video and write your answers down, please. Okay, find the sum of 2/7 and 3/7. Now, our denominators will not change, so we can add 2 and 3 together, which makes 5/7. Number 2, the missing denominator we can find by working out what we multiplied by 3 to get to 12. So 3 multiplied by what gives us 12? The answer is 4, so we need to do the same to our denominator to find this second denominator. So 5 multiplied by 4 gives us 20. And finally, we can calculate the area of this shape by counting the squares. We can count them and find we have got 10 squares, so that is the area. Okay, so another set of retrieval questions for you then. Now, these are a bit trickier, but do not worry. So what I want you to do is pause the video, have a go at the questions, and then we're going to go through them and I'm going to explain them to you after. So pause the video here, try and work out the answers to these 4 questions, and then press play again, please. Okay, so 24 divided by 4. You are working out how many 4s there are in the number 24. There are 6. How many tenths are in one whole? Now, if you had a bar, like we've been looking at our bar models this week, and this bar was one whole of a bar, and you split that bar into 10 pieces, you would have 10 tenths in that whole bar. But if you had 2 of those bars and you split both of those bars into 10, you now have 2 bars which have both been split into tenths, so you would have 20. Now this one, how many hundredths are in 5 wholes? Well, if one whole has 1/100th, how many does 5 wholes have? 500. And this is going to be the focus of today's lesson. Now, here we have a bar. Now this bar shows me 7/7. I have one whole, it's been split into 7 and each part is worth 1/7, but because I've shaded it all in green, it's now worth 7/7. Now if I had another bar, how many sevenths is this bar worth? That's right, 2/7. So altogether, how many sevenths do we have? That's right, we have 9/7 altogether. Now, if I showed you a different way and I had my 7/7, I can see this is one whole because my whole bar has been shaded in. It has all been used. Whereas this bar does not represent a whole because it has not all been used. So this just represents 2/7. It doesn't represent one whole. It would if I had 7 more sevenths in that bar, but because I don't, it's not a whole. So we have 9/7 altogether. We worked that out in the previous slide, but now we have worked out how many wholes we have and how many sevenths we have. So we have one whole, the top bar, and 2/7, which is the bottom bar, which is the same as 9/7. Let's look at another example. So this time we have one whole, but it isn't actually, the fraction doesn't show one whole, does it? The fraction actually shows 2/6 because we've got 2 of the parts shaded out of 6 altogether. Now this bar here shows 5/6. Now altogether we have got 7/6. But what we could do is work out how many wholes we have and how many 6 we have. So look at what I can do now. What I can do is put 4 of my parts into the top bar and that would make a whole. Can you see why it's a whole? That's right, it's a whole because all of the parts of my bar have been used. So all of the parts are used and that makes one whole. Is this bar here a whole? No, it's not a whole because only one part has been used. So that is just 1/6. So 7/6 is the same as one whole and 1/6. I would like you, using the method that we've just looked at, to have a go and see if you can finish the sentences. There are how many fifths altogether? How many yellow parts are there? So then that amount of fifths, how many wholes can you make and how many fifths do you have remaining? Same with this one, how many halves are coloured in blue? So how many halves equals how many wholes could you make and how many halves? So pause the video here now and have a go if you can write down those sentence starters, please. Off you go. Okay, how did you do? So we can count the yellow parts and see that there are 11 fifths altogether. So 11 fifths is how many wholes and how many fifths? Well, we can see here that to make a whole for this bar, we need 2 more yellow parts. So we could bring these 2 yellow parts down and then we'd have 2 wholes and 1 fifth remaining. Now on the second question, how many halves are shaded? Well, we can count them and see there are 3 halves altogether. So 3 halves, we can see we don't need to think that we need to move any around because we've got 1 whole, we can see this whole here, and 1 half. Okay, now it's your turn to have a go at questions 1 and 2 on the worksheet, please. Pause the video now and head over to your resource pack, please. Off you go. Okay, how did you get on with those? We are going to look at something different now. Now I have the fraction 12 sixths. Now, what do you notice here about my denominator and my numerator? Wow, my numerator, the number 12, is larger than my denominator, which is 6. Now, when the numerator is larger than our denominator, this is called an improper fraction. This is where we need to work out how many wholes are in this fraction and how many sixths are in this fraction. Now, we're going to work that out now. We know that in this circumstance, 1 whole, so 1 bar, would be 6 parts like this. And we can see that this represents 1 whole for this fraction because my denominator is 6. But I can see that I've got more than 6 in my numerator here. I have 12. So I actually need another whole. But because I still need to make the number 12 and I've only made 6 so far, I need to shade in another 6. So now I have got 6 6 in my first bar and 6 6 in my second bar. So I have got 12 6 altogether. And how many wholes have I made? That's right, I've made 2 wholes. So 12 sixths is the same as 2 wholes. But do you notice, what is 6 multiplied by what gives us 12? Have a think, because that's what we're going to use later on in the lesson. We're going to have a look at another improper fraction now. Remind me, what was an improper fraction, please? That's right, the improper fraction was when our numerator, the number 18, is larger than our denominator, the number 6. Now, we know that 1 whole is going to be how many parts? 6 parts, that's right. So we have got our bar, our 1 whole with 6 parts. Because my numerator is 18, I can definitely fill my bar. And I still need to have another bar because I've only made 6 sixths so far, and I know I need to make 18 sixths. So I can use another bar, another whole, and fill that in too. And that is another 6 sixths. Now, with my bars, have I made 18 sixths so far? I haven't, have I? How many sixths have I made so far with my bars? That's right, I've made 12. I've got 1 sixth, 2 sixths, which is 12 altogether when you add them together. Now if I add another 6, that gives me 18 sixths. And how many wholes is this then? How many wholes can you see? That's right, I can see 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 whole. So 18 sixths is the same as 3 wholes. Again, what do you notice the relationship between these two numbers? Have a think. Okay, so we're going to talk now about that relationship. So we worked out that 18 sixths is the same as 3 wholes. Now, we know something here, that we could actually use our knowledge of multiplication and our times tables to work out the relationship between these two numbers. We know that to multiply, well, to get from 6 to 18, we need to multiply what? That's right, 3. And we know that multiplication, what is the inverse operation to multiplication? That's right, it's division. So we could actually work out the other way round. 18 divided by 3 also gives us 6. And we can use this to work out how many wholes there will be, because we know that one whole is going to be 6 sixths, because that's our denominator. So that means that we need 3 wholes to make 18, because 6 multiplied by 3 is 18. Because 18 is 3 times greater than 6. Let's have a look at another example, and I want your help with this one. I want to know how many wholes this fraction will make. Thinking that my denominator is 5, so what is one whole going to be? How many wholes am I going to have to make? Pause the video and have a think. Okay, how did you do? Shall we have a go at making 1 bar? So we know that 1 whole is 5/5. Now I have made 5/5. I know that I need much more than that to make 20/5. So I'm going to make another bar. I know now that I've got 2 lots of 5/5 gives me how many fifths? 10/5. I know that's not 20 yet. How many more bars do you think we're going to need if we've made 10 altogether so far? We are going to need 2 more bars. So can you see we've got 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 whole, 4 whole, and we've made 5, 10, 15, 20/5. So 20/5 is the same as 4 wholes. And we could look at this idea of this relationship between these two numbers again. Knowing that 20/5 is the same as 4 wholes, we can use our knowledge of multiplication and division to find the relationship between these two numbers. So, what do we multiply by 5 to get 20? 5, 10, 15, 20. I multiplied by 4 to get 20. So what do I divide 20 by to get 5? That's right, I divide it by 4 too. So 20 is 4 times greater than 5. Okay, let's look at a different example now, because sometimes with improper fractions we have wholes and we'll also have denominators. So we'll have wholes and we might have some sixths remaining. Now, we know that we have an improper fraction, so we need to turn it into wholes first of all. And we know because my denominator is 6, how many parts is going to be in that whole? That's right, there's going to be 6 parts in my whole. And I can show that as 6 sixths. Now, because my fraction is 10 sixths, do I need another bar? Yes, I do, because I've only made 6 so far, don't I? I need another bar of 6, but am I going to use all 6 of them? Have a think. No, I'm not, am I? Why not? Absolutely, because to get from 6 to 10, we don't need to add another 6. What do we need to add? 4, that's right. So we're going to colour 4 more out of my 6th bar in. Now, I can see here that I've made 4 sixths, because 6 sixths add 4 sixths gives me 10 sixths. Now I can see here that I've made 1 whole, but I also have 4 sixths. So 10 sixths is the same as 1 whole and 4 sixths. But wait, can you spot the pattern from when we were looking at remainders? Did you spot that 6 goes into 10 once and there are 4 remaining, which is the same as 1 whole and 4 sixths. So you can use your knowledge of fractions and remainders to work out the answers. Okay, what I would like you to do is pause the video here, have a go if you can work out how many wholes and how many thirds or halves or sevenths each of these fractions are. And we're going to go through the answers in part 2 of this lesson. So I will see you in part 2.